Okay, so in the last class, have completed this project. So let me run this project. Okay, anyway, actually, probably it might be old project. Okay, so yesterday actually, I have completed this project actually. So this is basically a project. Okay, so which actually contains the combination of both Servlet, Hibernate. Okay, so
Okay.
what I did is, we have like I explained how to fetch the data and how to delete and how to update. See, what will happen when we use this JDBC, right? So JDBC is basically, I can tell it's kind of outdated, but still, as a Java, like if you are a beginner, it's always advisable to before coming into the Hibernate. If you learn this JDBC, it will be very useful. Okay. So in the JDBC, there will be configuration we have to do, like local host database name and drivers like this. Okay. So what I did is I have implemented the methods. Okay. So this is for the read. So if you observe read, select star from student, and if you have a insert function, so insert into student, like this is the insert function, then this is update function, and this is delete function. Okay, so this is there in the student.util package, and I have this show.jsp have created this table. Then what I did is like I used to iterate and I used to display the data. Okay, so and also I have the controllers like insert controller. Okay, in insert controller, what will happen, I will just accept the data, and I will just send with the object. Then if I call s1 dot insert, see here in student util I have the student util, right? So here this is the insert method, right? So I'm just calling in the insert controller this method. Okay, see, whatever I enter in the front end, that actually store name and age. Okay, I'm storing in the object, and when I give s1 insert like this, what will happen, it will reach that student util package. So here the query is there and it will insert into my database. Okay, so yeah, so what I did is initially we learned about servlets. So after that, we worked on JDBC. So after that, we have done one project. So to insert, update, and delete the functionalities, we have created this project. Okay, so this is what we learned in last few classes. Okay, so this class is about basically Hibernate. Okay, oops, notepad is there. Do you know what is Hibernate?
Hibernate is an ORM that allows us to I think ORMs allow us to represent database entities as Java objects, so we don't have to worry about like writing statements. We can directly use methods that are defined in the ORM on these objects to update entities. So it makes it easier to interact with these database entities.
Good, right. So as you told, Hibernate is a ORM tool, which is object relational mapping tool, and Hibernate is basically it's a framework actually, and it's open source framework, so anyone can download and anyone can use this. So
Okay.
here the main advantages of Hibernate over JDBC. So if you see here JDBC, what is happening is you're writing queries for everything. For example, if you want to do the read operations, so we have to write select star from student, and the queries we are writing like this. Okay, but Hibernate it will tell is okay. So it will tell like boss, you don't write the business logic. Okay, so I'm here to write the business logic. You can just use my the uh, my ORM tools, and you simply use it. Okay, so you don't need to write the business logic, you don't need to write this queries like this to update, delete, or insert. You don't need to do anything. So I'm the Hibernate for you. You just call my methods and use it. Okay, so that is what the Hibernate. And what is the main difference between Hibernate and JDBC is, one thing is you don't need to write the business logic, and one more thing is the caching is not happening in case of JDBC. Okay, so caching will not be happening here in case of JDBC, but caching will support in the Hibernate. So in Hibernate, to store or to do anything, we use something called sessions in our Hibernate. But in JDBC, we don't use a concept called sessions here. Okay, so that is the difference between Hibernate and JDBC. Okay. Okay. So now, what I will do is today in the class, what I will teach you is, so first I will teach you how to do the configurations and all these things. Okay, and one more thing is nowadays what is happening is Hibernate is also in JPA we are using. Okay, so Hibernate and JPA. So JPA is like JPA is like again derived from the Hibernate only.
Yeah. Okay.
So in Hibernate also here today I will just teach you for your knowledge. Actually, probably when I start with the Spring Boot. Okay. So again I will
Okay.
I'm not at all using this Hibernate. So there I will use something called as JPA. But it is advisable, like you kind of have knowledge about first JDBC, then you also have knowledge about Hibernate, then you also have knowledge about that this one what is
Yeah.
that JPS.
Java Persistence API.
And also in future, if the technology changes, if they Hibernate only, if they introduce other any technologies, it will be very useful for you. Okay. Now,
Okay.
so to learn this Hibernate, what I will do is I will click on new, and I will choose something called as Maven project. Yeah, here Maven project. Okay, so here click on next. Okay, see when you usually what will happen when you create Maven project, nothing will come. Okay, so here the architect like this it will come. Okay, so do one thing, click on internal, so search for quick. Okay, so Maven quick start like this, click on next. So here group id, it's kind of a package only, package and group id both are same. See here com.example. Okay, so here just give some project name. So here what I will do is my Hibernate project HIB, some name. Okay, so I will click finish. Okay, so the project is building. Okay, So now the Hibernate, sorry, the what is that? The project got created. Maven project got created. So obviously this Maven project, if you see that previous example, like yesterday class, we were using something called as dynamic web project. In dynamic web project and all, what we used to do is, if you want to add any dependency file, we used to manually download the things in the lib folder. We need to add those dependencies, right? So that is what we have to do, like yesterday class and all. We have done like that. So now, if you create the Maven project, so here you don't need to download and put it in the lib folder. If you want, you can still do it, but we have something called as pom.xml here. Okay, in pom.xml, so here we have to add the dependency files here. Okay, so see here, where you have to exactly have to add the dependency files. See here, we have dependencies, and dependency is there here. Okay, dependency. So under the dependency here we need to add. Okay, so if you want to work with Hibernate, okay, two dependencies are required. One is Hibernate and another is MySQL. Okay, so to download that, so what I will do is, I will simply go for Google. Okay, I will type Hibernate Maven. Okay, click this org Hibernate like this. Okay, go to this particular site. Okay, see, there are so many jar files are there. So what I suggest is, instead of going for new, we don't know whether if we have to have bugs, or I don't know, like, so it's advisable to go for a little bit older. Probably you can try for 5.4.1.3 like that. Okay, choose any version is no issues. Okay, just copy that and just paste this dependency in your project. Okay, one is Hibernate, another is you want to communicate with your database, right? So for that we have to use something called as MySQL connector. Okay, so just type MySQL connector Maven. Okay, so here again, I will go a little bit older, probably, yeah, I can go for 8.0.15. So any version you can choose, but why I'm choosing older means, there might be possibility the new things might have bugs or something. So yeah, so here I'll paste here. Okay, so now what will happen in Maven projects and all, what will happen when you paste this dependency, it will automatically download. Okay, so when I give controls yes, save. Okay, so it will take some time to download the dependency files. Okay, it based on basically the internet speed. Okay, so now we have, okay, so it's still downloading. Okay, so this is done here. Okay, so we have added the dependencies. Okay, so now if you are added the dependencies, you have to tell your application that the Hibernate things are added in your project. So for that, what I will do is, okay, so where I have Java here, right? Yeah. So now what I will do is, I need to create one XML file, okay, to do the configurations for the Hibernate. Okay. So for that, under Java here, okay, under Java, okay, not inside the package. So under Java, okay. So right click on other, search for XML. XML file, click on next. Okay, so here I'm choosing Hibernate, okay, dot cfg dot xml. Okay, so I'm telling my project I'm adding my the XML configuration file. Click on next, click finish here. Okay, so now the configuration file is here. So we have to add a little bit of configuration in my project. Okay, so you don't need to type anything, the configurations. So what I suggest to you is, just go for Google and search for Hibernate configuration file. Okay, like that, configuration XML file, like that you can type. There are so many sites are there. You can choose okay, whatever you want, but okay, I will go this site. See here, this is the XML configuration file. So this configuration files, basically it will contain MySQL connector, and if you are working with database, that one, and username, password. Okay, all the things related to the Hibernate it will have. So I think I already have that file with me, so let me show you. Yeah, here. Okay, so it's available in Google. Okay, so you don't need to type, or you don't need to mug up, or you don't need to remember anything. Okay, just need to copy paste like this. Okay, so I will explain you what all the things will be there here in the configuration file. Okay, so you can go for any site. Okay, it's all the sites will have. Okay, so make sure, see here, it will be like, see, hibernate config.xml. Okay, make sure you are copying the right XML. Okay, so here, see here, I'm using MySQL, right? So for that, I'm using something called as driver class MySQL JDBC driver. Okay, so this is JDBC MySQL localhost 3036 is my MySQL port. I'm using something called a student. Let me check I have student data table or not. So for that, I will go for phpMyAdmin here. Okay, so I have student. Okay, inside the student I have another student table. Do I have? Yeah, I have table. Okay, so I'm telling it's localhost 30.30.06 port and student. In the last project also we had it, right, when we are doing this JDBC connection. The same thing, the port and all I mentioned, right? So the same thing here also I'm doing. So here I have something called as username for my MySQL workbench. I've created the username as the root. So password I haven't given nothing. So I'm just giving blank here. Okay, so I'm using this dialect Hibernate, MySQL dialect. Okay, so you just need to copy this Hibernate. Okay, and here this one is there. Okay, Hibernate auto update. Okay, you can, some of the times you can use create and all you can use. Okay, so MySQL is true. Yeah, and also mapping I'm doing. Okay, so I'm telling okay, so I have not created this one, right? So what I will do is I will create the getter and setter file, okay, for student. Okay, so whatever the getter and setters, see, then you are actually doing the mapping, right? So for that, you just need to mapping class, like that you have to mention here. So for all the class, okay, mapping classes you have to mention here, the Hibernate configuration file. Okay, so now this is about the configuration file. Okay, so it's available in internet, it's very simple, so anyone can download, and anyone can, like, you can copy from there. Okay, okay, this is fine. So next I will create one class, Java class, that is student. Okay, now the student is here. So the student is what? It's a table, right? So it's a table. See here, I have student table here. Inside student database, I have student table. So if we have tables, so it's just give as entity. Okay, so all the table names you have to make sure as entity here. Import it. Wait, while importing, make sure don't use Hibernate annotations. It's deprecated. Okay, so now when I click this, see here you have Java X persistence. Okay, choose that. Okay, so this while doing real-time projects also you guys get confused. Okay, so some of the times what you will do from Hibernate you will, okay, don't do that. So just click Java X persistence entity. Okay, so now this is my table. I have mentioned student is my entity. So now what you have to do is inside the student, I have ID is there, name is there, age is there. Okay. So for that, string ID. It's your choice. You can go for integer. So here I want to print most of the time strings, right? So I'm preferring to go for string. Okay. It's actually int. Okay. This should be always int. Okay. So string int. I'm taking string name as well. String age, I believe. ID name age. Here I have ID name age. Yeah, ID name age. So now ID name is age is here. So now the right click and click on source, generate getters and setters, select all age ID name. Okay, generate. So getter and setter methods are there here. Again, right click on source, click on constructor using fields, choose one parameterized constructor and one more constructor as well, that is source and constructors in fields. Deselect all, give generate. Okay, one default constructor, one parameterized constructor. I have here getter and setter methods. I have all the things. Okay, so apart
I
from
have a
that,
question. Sorry.
sorry.
So I have a question. So these the data members, the ID, name, and age that you said, if we put any access specifiers on them, will it affect our ORM connection? No, right? We can keep them as private over here since we're using getters and setters anyways.
Yes, we can do that. You can make it as private.
Okay, so it won't affect the ORM connection.
Nothing. Yeah, yeah. It won't. So that's why
All right.
a lot of projects they will mention as private like this. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's no problem. Okay. So now here we have to use like IDs are basically primary keys, right? So to indicate that it's advisable to give @ ID. Okay, it's annotation basically. So just import it. Okay, so import it. So yeah, so now actually we're just doing mapping, right? So ID name age and ID is here. Okay, so now if you we are basically printing these things in the console. Okay, so for that I will use something called as toString method. Okay, so where can I find this toString method? Go for source, go for override methods here. See here toString is there, click OK. Okay, this is just to print in the console. Okay, so here's return this dot id, this dot id plus this dot name plus this dot age. Yeah, plus. Okay, so this is just to print. Okay, in the console I will show you. Okay, so ID, name, and age. Okay, to print things in the Hibernate. Okay, so now the configuration is here and student is there, and yeah. Okay, so now, okay, so here if you want to save in the Hibernate, we have to use something called as sessions and all. Okay, so I will tell you session and transaction like that. Okay, so guys, this actually we have something called a JPA repository. Okay, so there you don't need to do this much of circus, but in Hibernate still we are at the beginning stage, right? So to understand Hibernate, so I need to write a few configuration. Okay, but when I start about the Spring Boot, okay, so it's kind of evolution, you can tell. So how much configurations now the Spring Boot helping us to create projects. Okay, there are a lot of configuration files. Actually, less configuration files is there in case of Spring Boot. Okay, now here what I will do is I will type one print statement saying project started. Okay, next we have to tell my my class that configuration file, right? So for that, just type configuration cfg is equal to new configuration. Okay, let me import it. Hibernate, yeah. So now here cfg dot configure. Okay, so here just mention what is your file name here. The configuration file name is uh, see here hibernate config.xml, hibernate.cfg.xml. Okay, so this is done. Next we have something called as session factory. Session factory is equal to cfg dot build session factory. Okay, I will import this. Session factory. Okay, so now to check whether really like some of the times what will happen once you've done the configuration, right, it will throw the error. Okay, so for that I'm just checking whether we have done the valid no configuration or not. Okay, so that, and we'll type factory dot closed is closed. Okay, this is just to check whether configure, like if any error is there, it will throw the exception. Okay, so I'm just printing the factory here. So this is kind of object, some ID will get generated for this. Okay, if once that session got created, if this closed, okay, then it will tell true or false. Okay, so let me run and check. If any error, it will show us in the beginning stage. Okay, there is an error. We'll see what is that. Unable to create requested service. Okay, so you must have configure either server JDBC driver via server time configuration property to more specific time via value if you want to utilize the zone support. There are to convert MySQL converter. See here, it is telling the server time zone value unknown recognized. Okay, so what I will do is, okay, there is something to here. Where did we given server time? Probably here or not here, not even there in the configuration file here. Okay, we have to give some configuration things here. Okay, let me check that. Just see, they're telling JDBC MySQL localhost is there, right? So after that, time zone has to give. Okay, so where did we given here? Here. Okay, so after student, what I will do is I will just let me copy this one. Okay, I'm just copying this and I'm pasting. No, I think after DB. Okay, so directly I can paste, no problem. Okay, so I'm just pasting like this. Okay, okay, let me check now. Okay, so it is not that. Type Hibernate. Okay, it's 1 minute. Here, uh, see they've added like this text server times on UTC like this. Okay, some configuration issue. Okay, so I think now it is not throwing the error. Probably this is true, I believe. Let's see. Hmm.
this is not Project Hyper. That's why this is my Hyper Pro. So it's saying, I
Uh,
think it's
yes, yes, yes. So now the time zone error got rectified.
yeah.
So yes, so now the package, right? So here, okay, so hey, this time zone error will come all the time. Okay, so always keep in mind. So when you get that error, right, time zone error is equal. Okay,
Yeah.
so once after database, just give this one. Okay, in even in the case of Spring Boot as well. Okay, it will always ask the time zone UTC.
Okay.
That okay. So now what I will do is we'll go to the student here. Mm, this one. So in app, no, the XML file here, and just copy dot student. Okay. So now let me run the app. See, now it is printing the object ID, and also if you see here, uh, app. See here, the factory is closed, which means the session factory is created, right? It is not closed. It is open, right? So that's why it is printing false. Okay, so this is right only. Okay, so now we have configured properly. Now the configurations, everything is working fine. So now what I will do is I need to save something, right? So into my database. So for that, I will send the data through the object. So that is student yes is equal to new student, like this. Yes dot set ID. Okay, so ID I can pass. Let me check what ID I have here. Okay, so I will give some 11. Yes dot set name is Rajesh. Yes dot set age I given 30. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm just setting the, like, I'm sending just data like this ID and name and age. Okay, so now if you want to save something, we have to use something called a session and transaction. Okay, we have to use set session and transaction. Okay, in case of Hibernate, but still I'm telling you, when it comes to JPA repository, nothing you can do this much of configurations and all. Okay, it's very easy there, but in Hibernate we have to follow that. Okay, we have to use session is equal to factory dot open session, like this. Okay, we have to use session, and this is Hibernate voila. Okay, so next I have transaction. Transaction tx is equal to session dot begin transaction. Import this from Hibernate. Okay, so now, okay, I have called session and transaction. So just give session dot save. So what do you want to save? You want to save that object, right? So which where you passed the information, right? So okay, this is done. Next is tx dot commit. Next is session dot close. Okay, so this is the configuration we have to do. Okay, so now if you check, when I run this app, run as Java application, see here Hibernate. I haven't given this insert command. What the Hibernate itself it is through the save, right? I have given that session.save, right? The save like this method is there, right? Which actually by default, okay, the Hibernate will handle all this. Okay, insert into student, age, name, ID. See values inserting. Okay, now if you go to the database and check whether the data is stored or not. See here 11, Rajesh 30. Okay, so now what did we understand is, if you remember JDBC, so how much connection we done in case of JDBC, and how much queries we used to write, and how many methods we have to write there, and their mapping was not there. It was very difficult, right? So previously, but all that much configurations, right, we have avoided by simple one Hibernate configuration file. And here you just need to mention uh, these things. Okay, just need to mention the configuration file, the session and transaction. Okay, session just save, transaction to commit, that saves into database and close it. Okay, so like the configuration JDBC, it will take almost a lot of time it will consume. So all can be changed in Hibernate, and easily you are able to save. Okay, so yeah, again when it comes to JPA repository, still simple. Okay, okay, so now just we learned about how to store the data, save the data. So we will see how to get any data. Okay, get any data in Hibernate. Okay, when it comes to get something. Okay, so here okay, so what I will do is, I want to get this record level. So how can I do in Hibernate? So here we have to use some method called as get method. Okay, by using get method, easily we are able to get it. Okay, so now what I will do is, now we are okay, so now what I will do is, let me save this in Word file. Later I will send to you guys. Okay, so now the data is saving. Now what I will do is, now I don't insert it again, right? So I'm just going to delete that. So now, yeah, so if you want to get any data, what we have to use, we have to use get method, right? So for that, we will type s is equal to student, typecast of student session dot c session dot get. Oh wait, so I think I can do this after the session. Here, see get, see it is telling what entity you want to get. I want to get entity that is student dot class. Okay, so which ID you want to get? I want to get number 11, right? So yeah, so now what I will do is, I want to print it. Okay, so for that I will just type yes here. Okay, so that's all. Just give session dot get. Okay, it will ask you which entity you want to, and specify which primary key. Okay, Very simple, right? So now just run this. See here, it is getting 11, Rajesh 30. Okay, so like that you can get in Hibernate. Okay, so this is about how Hibernate will work, how to do the configuration, and how to get the data. Okay, so in Hibernate we have very important concept. Okay, so almost all interviews and also in case of in the projects. Okay, very important. The concept name is what? Hibernate relations. Okay, so what I will do is I will explain about all the Hibernate relations. Okay, including one to one, one to many, many to one, like where exactly you need to give and all. Okay, so now so in interviews also, if somebody want to ask you to explain this, okay, please explain. Okay, now imagine you have a table called as book. Okay, this is entity book. So now we have book here. Okay, book is a table name. Here I have book ID. Okay, here I have book name. Okay, next I have student here. Okay, so now I have student ID is there, student name is there, student age is there, like this. This is for student ID. Okay, we have name, we have age, like this. Okay, so now what I will do is when I have book and student, what I will do is I will create two class. Okay, getter and setter class, that is class book, like this. Okay, like this, or else I will create, another one is class student, like this, like this. Now what I will do, I will specify the entity here. Okay, I will specify the entity here. Okay, okay, so this actually we need to observe in the real time. So how to establish the relationships, okay, in your real time project. So how to analyze the relationships. Okay, so now what I will do is obviously I will give @ID, like this you can give, and I will give int book ID and string b name, that is book name, like that. Okay, so here @ID, sid, sorry, this is ID, right? Sid, we have int sid, we have string name, string name, next we have string age. Okay, So now, okay, so I have this, so below that, of course, there will be getter setter methods will be there. Then, default constructor, parameterized constructor is there. So all the things will be there here. Okay. So now, what is happening is you have book and student tables are there. So now you need to establish one-to-one relationship here. Okay. So to establish one-to-one relationship, so how can I do that? Right. So you have one student, you have one book. Okay. One student have one book. That is one-to-one relationship. Right. So how can I do that? So for that, okay, I need to, okay, here I will explain. Okay. No, I think here only. Okay. See, when you have one-to-one relationship, what you have to do is just type book, book. Okay. So why I'm typing book here? Because one student have one book, right? So because of that, I cannot create a book object like this here in case of book, right? So I can create here, and what you have to do is here just give @ 1 to 1, 1 to 1. Okay. So like that you have to mention here. Okay. That's all. Okay. In case of 1 to 1. Okay. So, and one more thing is what you have to do is you have to do the the foreign key relationship BID here. Okay. So it will be something like, imagine we have book ID 101. Book name is okay, Game of Thrones, GOT. Okay. Next I have student here. So student is 1011, student ID. Student name is Raj. Okay, his age is some 24. Okay, book ID is 101. Okay, so now what is the meaning of this? So now we need to establish the foreign key relationship as well. Okay, in the here we have to mention one-to-one relationship like this. Okay, so what is the meaning of this? Student 101 is this student, and name is Raj, and age is 24. He brought book ID is 101, like that. Okay, so like that you can establish and you can use it. Okay, so next we have something called as one to many, many to one relationship. Okay, now we have the scenario, one student can have multiple books, right? So one student have multiple books. So that time how can I do it? So now what you have to do is, so here you have given book, right? So when you have no one to many relationship, like one student have multiple books, so that time just create @ 1 to many, like this. Then not just don't mention like this. You have to mention list and book. There will be many books, right? So book like this, like that. And you need to generate getter and setter for this list as well. Okay. So one students have many books. Okay. So I need to mention here. Okay. Instead of 1 to 1, you have to mention 1 to many. Now, so you are telling a student like one student have multiple books, but you have to tell this one as well, right? Book as well, right? So what you have to tell? You have to tell it is just like many books will be there in the student, right? So I have to tell the student as well. It's a book as well. So for that, just mention @ many to one, right? So many to one, same thing again. So here, okay, many to one, like that you have to mention here. In case of in the book entity, you have to mention many to one. Okay, so this is the relationship in here. Now you know about many to one. So many books belongs to students. So for that I have mentioned many to one. So here one book is belongs to many students. Okay, so like that we have to establish the relationships. Okay, now lastly we have something called as many to many. Okay, when we have many to many, don't it is not advisable to create the tables like this. Okay, when you have many to many, do one thing: create book table, create student table. Okay, don't create this here. Okay, don't do that. Okay, so instead of that, create one more table here like this. Okay, so just mention in another table, just mention BID, SID here, SID, like this. And okay, so here you can mention how many. Okay, many students have multiple books. Multiple books can be taken by multiple students, right? So you can put whatever, like 101 and 1011. Okay, similarly multiple books, right? So 101 in student, for example, we have somebody name called as 1012. You can mention him. Okay, so like that. Okay, just create one more table like this, put book ID, and the table name, just put book student ID, book student table. Okay, so always remember, for many to many, it's advisable to create the table like it, instead of establishing the foreign key every time. Okay, okay, so now very simple. So when you have many to many, same thing again here. Okay, so on top of list book, just put, see here many to one is there, just create student std like that. Okay, in case of many to one, the object has to create like this. So here just create @many to many, many to many. And here also I have to give list of books. Okay, so here also @many to many, many to many. So here create list of students, right? So list of student std, like that. Okay, so yeah, so like this we need to establish the relationships. I think now the concepts, I believe it's clear, I guess. So like that, in real time we have to establish the relationships like this. Okay, so the practical for this, I will explain when I start about the Spring Boot, right? So that time I will establish the relationships. Okay, one to many, many to one, like that. Okay, so in there, in the project, I will explain you. So how to, when to give I just given you the scenario, but in real time I will just mention there. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah, so that's about the Hibernate. So I don't want to go in detail about Hibernate, because the Hibernate is replaced with the JPA repository, right? So there is no way that if you want, I can Hibernate I can explain about caching and all. I can explain how I can store. But again, caching I explained you. In servlet I explained you that you can use from this server side also you can do. I done it in the client side, right? So in the there I used cookies and all I used, right? So yeah, so in here also we can do, so that I can explain. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so from tomorrow what I will do is we'll be working on the tomorrow, in the sense from the Monday we'll be working on Spring Boot. So now you tell me, first can I explain? Oh, okay. So we'll go like that. So first I will explain about Spring Core. I will explain dependency injection, inversion of controller, IOC controller. What is B? Okay. So all the Spring Core I will explain. Okay. Before I going to the Spring Boot. So Spring Core, all Spring Core related I will explain. Okay. So after that, we'll be working on again in Spring Boot. We will be working on some mini project we will do. There, I will explain. I will add the Spring Boot and JPA together, and we'll be working on that, and we'll create one project for that. Okay. So after that, we will be working on Spring Security as well. In Spring Security, I will explain about mostly about how to assign the roles, how to define the roles, how to define user role, admin role. Okay, so how the registration and the login will happen. Okay, so everything will work after that. So after that, we'll be working on REST APIs. Okay, so like that, we'll proceed. Okay, I think
Okay.
this is class number 11. Still long way, like half way to go. So we'll no, we'll go in that route. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. So just just go through the, not that much important. Please, but definitely just go through the servlet, because in servlet I in detail I explained about generic servlet, HTTP servlet like that I've explained. So please go
All right.
through those materials, because that will be very very useful in case of interview. That, and the JDBC is nothing. I mean, you don't need to much worry on that. And in Hibernate, I explained about one-to-one relationship, right? So this one-to-one, this relationship. So just while explaining, just draw these tables and all, like however I explained you, right? So you just explain to
Okay.
them. Okay.
All right. Got it.
Okay. So see you on Monday. We'll start from the Spring Core. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Bye and have a nice day. Bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye.